right, so we're going to go ahead and continue the long-standing tradition of covering Japanese boxing here on True School Sports. True School Sports, the #1 source for Japanese boxing in America. And shout out to the land of the rising sun and the land of the free and the home of the brave and anywhere else in the world you may be tuning in from. Thank you for coming back to True School Sports. Hope you guys are as happy to be here as I am. Now, Naoya Inoue, man, I've been talking about him on YouTube for 11 years now. I've got hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of videos of the guy talking about him for years, right? So, I really enjoyed his career. I am of the understanding that we are getting towards the latter stages, and I'm really beginning to appreciate every last fight that he does have, because who knows which one could be his last, right? Now, recently, the Monster was doing some. He was doing some community work. He did an event in his hometown of Zama City, Kanagawa, Japan, and him and his brother and fellow world champion Takuma Inoue, they were there speaking to the kids, speaking to the media, doing some drills with the kids. Inoue was holding the pads, doing pad work with the kids, as you guys saw in the beginning. And he was asked about his future at this particular event. And here's what Inoue said about what he will do next. He stated the following, and I quote, "I am not fixated on Bam Rodriguez. If I want to stay in bantamweight a bit longer, I'm thinking about challenging for featherweight. It can be done around February. If it can be done around February, I'll do it. Within this year, I won't. Super bantamweight, emotionally, I'd like to do it around October and February as the best. But there are various circumstances making all this possible." Now, I know Japanese doesn't always translate the easiest to English, so anybody in Japan, if y'all have a better translation, feel free to put it down in the comments down below. But my interpretation of what he said and my interpretation of what's been told to me about what he said is simply that, look, you got to remember with Inoue, he was supposed to fight Sam Goodman in Christmas of 2024, and he was already in camp towards the latter stages of 2024 for that, and then he fought 4 times in 2025. So he basically spent a year and a half in training camp, and his body went through a lot in those camps. The camps are what take the most out of the fighter. So I'm thinking he's gonna want to definitely take a bit of a rest, and he's given Bam a certain deadline to do the fight, and if Bam does not do the super fight on that deadline, then he's saying he's going to go to featherweight. Now, of course, this could be a bluff because at the end of the day, Inoue is the money man around these weight classes, and he could fight the janitor. He could fight the custodian that works at the local 7-Eleven or Family Mart or Lawson Station, like you see on the signs right there. He could fight someone from there, and it would sell. He's reached that level in his career where he'll sell regardless. That being said, that I'm of the mindset that if Inoue doesn't want to come to featherweight, they can create opponents at 122 pounds. Like John Real Casimiro still there. That's the rivalry fight. You got Ryosuke Nishida. Do I want to see those fights? Of course not. Hell no. I've been screaming from the mountaintops for the last two plus years that I want to see him come to featherweight. But if he's telling Bam this, we'll see if he follows through. I'm really intrigued to see if he's gonna follow through because Bam has only had one fight at 118 pounds. Robert Garcia has made light of the fact that they're not going to rush, that they're on their own timeline. So if Robert Garcia holds true to that and they don't, and it's not a bluff, then we should expect to see Inoue at featherweight, which would obviously open the potential matchups of him versus guys like, of course, the fight I want to see most in boxing, Inoue versus Angelo Leo. You got Inoue versus Bruce Carrington. You got Inoue versus Espinoza. And you got Inoue versus Brandon Figueroa. So there's options. All those fights are awesome fights. I'd love to see all those fights for him. But he's laying it out that, hey, my life does not revolve around Bam Rodriguez. And he's like, yes, the Bam Rodriguez fight is a fight that's great. And it is a big fight. But, I'm the monster. I'm the money man. I'm not fixated on Bam. I'm not solely focused on Bam. But if that's what I want right now, that's what I want to do right now. If we can do it right now, next, great. If not, I'm taking my happy ass on up the featherweight, and I'm going to go try to seek 5 division glory, which to me is music to my ears. This is what I want to see from the Monster. And I don't necessarily care if it's against Angelo Leo, even though that's the fight I want to see the most. But if it's against Bruce, if it's against Espinoza, if it's against Figueroa, any one of those 3 guys, that will more than satisfy my wants and needs as a boxing fan and as a longtime fan of the Monster. Like I said, I may have lied to this so many times. So if you've never heard me say this before, let me tell you guys again. And let me tell you guys why I've been so bullish about Inoue wanting Inoue to go to featherweight. I'm a big fan of boxing, love the monster, and I understand the history of boxing, right? And I understand the fact that when you talk about 5 division champions, you're talking about rarefied air. You're talking about boxing royalty. You're talking about, another level. There's levels to everything, but you're talking about another level of all-time great. And becoming a 5 division champion makes you that much more boxing royalty. Now, do you got to be 5 division champ to be boxing royalty? No, there's been guys that have been 4 division champs that you consider boxing royalty. And Marvin Hagler was a 1 division champion. We consider him boxing royalty, right? So it's not a black and white thing, but when you're a 5 division champion, it just puts you in a class completely by yourself. Because the only guys that have done that are Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hitman Hearns, Terrence Crawford, right? And, if Inoue was to become a 5 division champion, winning any one of the 4 belts from one of the featherweight champions, that makes him now the 7th 5 division champion in history. And everybody else I just named, you talk about them names, you're talking about the best fighters that ever put on a pair of boxing gloves in the history of the fight game, right? So that's the kind of company and that's the kind of history he'd be shooting for. And on top of that, he'd be the only Japanese fighter to do that, which I think, would further cement, if it hasn't cemented it already, that he is the greatest Japanese fighter of all time. And I think now, with him becoming a 5 division champion, we could actually start to have the conversation of, hey, is Naoya Inoue the greatest Asian fighter of all time? Because really, the conversation really is just between himself fighting Harada and Manny Pacquiao, right? But him being a 5 division champion, I feel, would open up that. So that's how I look at it. That's my perspective. That's my vantage point. And I just think all the fights at featherweight against all the champions are really awesome fights. If he is to go to featherweight, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, I think the queue looks like this for him. This is how I believe the queue looks for him. I think the front runner is Bruce Carrington because Bruce Carrington has been the best self-promoter in the division. He has probably the biggest name because of just how the talking and how he's been on social media. And he's been talking up that fight for like 3 years because I remember interviewing Bruce Carrington about him fighting Inoue all the way back in 2023 at the Espinoza Robeisy Ramirez 1 press conference. He was talking about fighting Inoue before Espinoza even became champion, and Espinoza's been champion for a little bit of time now. So I think he's number 1 of the queue. Obviously Inoue came to watch him fight. Inoue's never fought at Madison Square Garden, which is one of the meccas of boxing. That would be massive for him. So I think for everything that fight represents, it being a winnable fight, Bruce having an undefeated record, Bruce being a big-time talker, I think him versus Bruce Carrington is definitely the front runner of the division. After that, I definitely feel like, Brandon Figueroa, if Brandon Figueroa is to be victorious against Tomohiro Kameda, I feel like that's going to be a fight that, they look at as a potential fight for Inoue. And then, you could say Angelo Leo and Espinoza are 3 and 4. After that, either order. I think those are probably 2 of the more... Well, Angelo is a difficult fight for him just because of the style. But again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Inoue will pick Angelo to fight because Angelo isn't as big as the other guys in terms of his stature, and he has the IBF belt, so he can't rehydrate above a certain weight. So maybe he likes that. I don't know. But I definitely do feel like no matter how you have the rest of the featherweights, that Bruce Carrington is the front runner to get that fight. So we'll see how it goes. But Inoue is letting you guys know, letting Japan and the world know that while the Bam Rodriguez fight is a big fight, while it is a super fight, that he is not just going to be overly focused and making his career down this hill of fighting Bam Rodriguez, and he's given a timeline, and he's laid it out perfectly. So, yeah, leave your comments down below. What do you guys think about Inoue and his plans, and who do you want to see him fight next? Do you want to see the Bam Rodriguez fight? Is it Bam or bust for you, or do you want to see him against one of the featherweight champions? And if so, which one do you want to see him against? Let me know all that great stuff in the comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.